What is it like with the children and their relationship with him now?
This is going to sound odd to a lot of people. I really don't know. They're adults now. I have stepped away when Robert Jr. turned 18. I was like, whatever you decide from this point, if you want to call him, you don't have to get permission. If you want to go visit him in jail, you don't have to get my permission. You're a young adult now. That is up to you. But I've always been that mother that I knew how to separate him not being a good husband and the relationship with him and his children as their father. Those are two separate things.
Mm.
So whatever my children feel, if you love them and want to see them, great.
Yeah.
If you hate them and never want to talk to them again, great. That is your decision. Because I know what it's like to be his ex-wife, his wife. I can kind of separate myself from that. They share DNA. That's forever.
How did your parents feel about him? Knowing the cycle of abuse that you observed, what was their viewpoint on him as a person and his treatment of you?
I will tell you this, my dad is a retired naval officer, and he said the next time, if ever it comes to it, y'all will see me on the glass like this. So y'all figure that out for yourself. My dad was like, I better not ever run across that man on the street. Ever. But the respect I have for my father, he's like, but because that is the father of my grandchildren, that is the only grace he gets.
Mm.
Only.
That's an interesting perspective considering what you've observed even growing up. I
Yeah.
think that, a lot of times people take note of people in prison or people that the biggest gangsters, but we all have a soft spot.
Yeah.
And figuring out what that is, and a lot of times I've seen some tough guys, if their mamas, hey, we gonna come after your mama now, or your kids, your grandkids. So clearly that was a tender moment for your father.
Yeah, because
Okay.
for him, it's like, okay, one blow, that was my daughter, but now it's the second, third, and fourth with my grandchildren.
Yeah.
So that just took my dad over the edge. He was like, yeah, I'm
Wow.
good.
What was conversation like? Did you understand the cycle of abuse that he had been through growing up? Did y'all ever talk about that?
I did.
Really? Because from what I've read and researched and seen, it seems as if, he was abusing men, women, just whatever. Is that accurate?
But I think it stems from his childhood, being molested by a man and a woman.
Wow. So that's confirmed that he was
Oh,
molested
yes.
by both men
Yes.
and women.
Men and women
Wow.
dealing with illiteracy, not being able to read.
Now, we would hear about these things, but it was never really confirmed.
Oh, God, yeah. What's the best way to describe? I don't want to say a humbling. Sitting with him, and I remember going through a Dr. Seuss book, and he gets out of the bed and he goes in the hallway, and I'm like what's like he just transformed into this little boy right before my eyes, and I'm like, what's going on? Like, it's just we're just reading stories to the kids. What's going on? And he shared with me, he said, Drea, I don't want to do that in front of them. And I said, but why? He was like, I can't read to them what's in that book. I don't want my kids to know I can't read. I said, but Robert, what you have to understand is they can't read either. You are magical in here. Make up the story as you go. I'll help you sound it out. And literally, I was teaching him to read through Dr. Seuss books. But I
That's
feel that it
yeah.
was a love-hate relationship because he would use that against me at times. He would also say, oh, you think you better than me because you can read. So I think he always had a love-hate relationship with me.
So you were seemingly living out the color purple.
It's very hard to watch that movie.
Yeah, I can imagine. Wow.
But in the end,
Yeah.
I'm going to leave that right there.
Yeah. Wow.
Yep.
Hmm. Why did you choose to keep the last name?
Because I paid for this name in blood, sweat, and tears. Literally. Literally. Like, after watching What's Love Got to Do with It,
Mm.
I was in the midst of it and coming out of it, and I understood why she said, you can have everything, but I'm keeping this name. Nobody knows what it's like to be me. And at the end of the day, it's very odd to me that we live in a society. You crucify me for having the last name, but you would not be on my social media and care who I was if I didn't have the last name. So I just let people know real early out the gate, you shouldn't care why I kept the last name. You should be concerned about what I'm doing with the last name. Because I have this last name, 2020 comes and follows me for a day. I've been on CNN. I've been on the platforms. I've been able to speak in Anguilla and on military bases talking about domestic violence awareness and sex trafficking awareness because of the last name. So let's not be concerned about why. We should be applauding what I'm doing with it.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people out here with last names, and y'all are promoting complete bullshit in our community.
Yeah. So you go from falling in love with this man to one of the things I read is, he hog tied you.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, this is, for me, mind blowing. Anytime you hear anybody's story, any woman's story for me, but the way you told the story, it seemed as if he hog tied you. You were on the side of the bed, and he went to sleep in the bed.
Fell asleep. He fell asleep.
And how many hours were you tied up?
I don't even know. I just remember being like, all right, think. You are a dancer. You're flexible. What can you do? I know I can get my feet as close to my head as possible. Like, literally, it felt like a scene out of the movies where they kidnap somebody and throw them in the back of the van, and then they cut to the scene where the person just been there for hours, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, so either I'm going to figure out how to get out of this, or when he wakes up, I don't know what monster. I don't know if I'm getting the teddy bear or the grizzly bear when he wakes up. I was like, yeah, okay, I'm getting out of this. It was crazy. Like, if there was social media back then, that would have been a mess. Wow. Like, literally me escaping, running out the house, running down the street, in the park, hopping the fence, and he's chasing me.
So wait a minute. After he wakes up?
Yeah. So our bedroom had an automatic lock on it, and that's another thing that people are like, why didn't you just leave? Why didn't you just do this? Why don't you just do that? And I'm like, you have no idea the fortress I lived in. Okay, that's number one. So the door had an automatic lock, and it was like one of the magnetic locks. So when you lock the door, in order to get out, you have to push a button, and it makes this click noise that makes a bell go off. So I'm like, even when I get out of this, I gotta push that damn button, and that, oh, okay, how do you, so I had to be lightning quick, like push it, open the door, click. That's what woke him up.
So you woke him up because you eventually got out.
Yes, running down the stairs. So I'm like, shit, I got to get down all these stairs to the front door. I'm like, there's no time to grab a purse. There's no time to grab shoes. There's no time to do anything. I got about 10 seconds to get from that third floor down to the first floor to get to the door and out the door. I was like, okay, here we go. And me and him running down the damn street looking stupid. Yes.
Before social media.
Before social media, thank God. Because I could only imagine right now the headlines, R. Kelly and wife running down the street, she's screaming and hollering barefoot.
Because he always kept a very tight veil around him that you couldn't really, almost impenetrable, so to speak. And so this happens. What was it like when he caught up to you? What transpires at that point?
Immediately, you're thinking I'm going to die.
So what's he saying to you when, like, how did that play out? He catches up to you running on foot. He finally catches up to you. So he ain't stopped.
No. I'm thinking, okay, we out in public. He ain't gonna act a fool out here because there's people watching. Was I wrong? But again, it's all in the book.